Hello, this is Miss Scrippa. I've had some questions about the photosynthesis assignment from Monday, so I'm going to go over the first few parts of that I think can be a little trickier in the reading. All right, so our assignment today, we're going to read the article and answer the questions. All right, so we're going to go to this article. All right, so we're going to open this up. And our first question that we're going to answer is, why do plants do photosynthesis? So that's the first part that we're looking for. All right, so in here, let's see. So if we read the first part, all right, what can a tiny plant do that you can't do? This tiny plant can use the energy from the sun to make its own food. We can't do that, right? You cannot make food just by sitting in the sun. And there are some other animals, or there are some other organisms that can also get food from the sun. All right, so our first question is, what is photosynthesis? That's probably going to be in this section right here. Right? If a plant gets hungry, it cannot walk to a local restaurant and buy a slice of pizza. So how does a plant get the food it needs to survive? Plants are producers, also known as autotrophs, which means that they are able to make or produce their own food. They also produce the food for other organisms. All right. It says, using the energy from the sun, they produce complex organic compounds from simple organic molecules. So once again, how does a plant get the food it needs to survive? Through photosynthesis. All right, so photosynthesis is how a plant gets the food that it needs to survive. So if we go back to our first question, why do plants do photosynthesis? We're going to say plants do photosynthesis to get the food they need to survive. I think this is a little tricky because it kind of goes in a long paragraph with more than one sentence of explaining what it is. But photosynthesis is how plants get the food that they need. So that's why they do it. They do photosynthesis to get food. Our second part says, what are two things that plants need so that they can do photosynthesis? So we're going to go back. All right, so let's start off where we ended up. We finished here. So it says, photosynthesis is the process that plants use to make their food from the sun's energy, carbon dioxide, and water. So that's what they use. That's three things that they need, right? They use the sun's energy, carbon dioxide, and water. So we're going to go back, I'm going to go back to our question. What are some things that plants need so they can do photosynthesis? Plants need energy from the sun, carbon dioxide, and water. All right, carbon dioxide is something that's in the air. It's in the air that you breathe. All right, so those are all of the things that a plant needs to do photosynthesis. Now we're going to look and see what are two things that the plant makes or produces after doing photosynthesis. So question 2 was, what do plants need to start photosynthesis? Number 3 is, what's left at the end? When a plant is all done doing photosynthesis, what is left? All right, so we're going to look here. So we read this sentence. We said photosynthesis is the process that plants use to make their own food from the sun's energy, carbon dioxide, and water. During photosynthesis, carbon dioxide and water combine with solar energy to create glucose, a carbohydrate, and oxygen. So those are our two things. Glucose and oxygen are what is made at the end. So for number 3, two things that the plant makes are glucose and oxygen. And glucose is like a sugar. So if you eat a food that has lots of sugar in it that makes it really sweet, that is usually because of glucose. This is the last question that I'm going to do with you. So for number 4, where in a plant cell does photosynthesis happen? All right, so if we're inside of a plant, where is the photosynthesis happening? Is it all of the plant? Is it just one place? All right, so we're going to keep going. We're going to read this paragraph here. All right, so actually almost all organisms obtain their energy from photosynthetic organisms. For example, if a bird eats a caterpillar, then the bird gets the energy that the caterpillar gets from the plant that it eats. So the bird indirectly gets energy that begin in the glucose form through photosynthesis. Therefore, the process of photosynthesis is central to sustaining life on Earth. So that means that without photosynthesis, there would not be any life on Earth because nobody would be able to get food. Right? In eukaryotic organisms, photosynthesis occurs in chloroplasts. Only cells with chloroplasts, plant cells, and algae cells can perform photosynthesis. So that is where inside of the cell this is happening. So we're going to go to number 4. Where in a plant cell does it happen? Photosynthesis happens in the chloroplast inside a plant cell. Okay, so those 4 questions are what's in the reading that I wanted you to do. The last 2 questions I want you to try to answer on your own. All right, and the answers are not in the reading. It's more just what do you think? What do you think would happen? So for number 5, why is the process of photosynthesis, so why is photosynthesis necessary for all life on Earth? So if we're saying necessary, we might just say, why does life on Earth need photosynthesis? That's another way to ask that question. All right, so that's one thing that I want you to answer in your own words. And the last part, number 6, what do you think would happen to the Earth? What do you think would happen to our planet if there were no more plants? So if all of the plants, the trees, the grass, the bushes, the flowers, if all of those were gone, what would happen? All right, what would happen to everything else? Okay, so your job now that I want you to do is I want you to answer these 2 questions on your own. All right, and I do want you to write down these on your piece of paper also, because we're going to keep learning about photosynthesis in our next class. All right, but now that I've helped you with numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, I want you to try and answer 5 and 6 on your own, okay? And let me know if you need any help, send me a message, all right? But otherwise, that should help you out.